I worked in a fine dining restaurant in a beautiful heritage house from the early 1900s. Think National Historic Site. I was the last to close up, and there was a security guard at the entrance parking gate, but no one else around. I walked through one of the dining rooms. It had a very large antique table surrounded by 16 antique chairs. They were the huge carved oak kind, very heavy. I put a note in the back room for the morning staff. When I walked back through the dining room a minute later, all 16 antique chairs were now on top of the table. The security guard swore no one else was on the property. He never left his post, and nobody else had passed him for hours. This is my mom's story. She's completely sane, and I believe it. My parents went to South Carolina for a wedding years ago. After the event, they stayed at some old bed and breakfast spot. She was sleeping when she woke up all of a sudden because she felt cold. She had her cell phone plugged into the wall and was on her nightstand. There was a notification on the phone, so it was blinking a faint light. A few feet away from it, she saw a woman in a full old formal dress. The woman's dress was touching the floor, but she seemed hovering more than she was walking. She was not looking at my mum, but instead was fixated on the phone's blinking light and was moving toward it. My mum was more puzzled than scared. She said, "Hi, it's okay. It's just a phone." The ghost turned and made eye contact with my mum. There was nothing there but a pitch-black hollow. She then disappeared. When I was 13, I was in front of my house in Queens practicing little BMX tricks on my bike. It was about 11 p.m. when I decided to call it a night, but before I did, I wanted to ride my bike along the waterfront in my neighborhood. When I completed the trail, I saw a woman wearing a white gown standing in front of a tree. I stopped my bike because I saw that she had no face. I thought that it was either a mannequin or I wasn't close enough to make out her features, so I shouted, "Hey!" She didn't respond. I rode my bike towards her until I was about 10 feet away, very close, and still no face. Then her head turned toward my direction. I jetted and went home and didn't bring it up to anyone for years. 10 years later, my childhood friend saw the same woman with no face. 1 year after that, our mutual friend shot himself in the head on that very spot. My mother passed away when I was 16. She had been sick in the hospital, but I never knew that it was that bad. My parents were always telling my older sister and me that it was just a virus and it was passing. I finished working at my fast food job after school and went home to change before visiting my mother at the hospital. My sister was on her way home to do the same. I heard the side door open, expecting my sister, and heard my mum say cheerfully, "Finally home." I was getting changed, so I couldn't just run out of my room, but I was super happy. But when I came out, no one was home. Then my sister drove up the driveway and I went outside. We drove straight to the hospital. This was just before cell phones were popular, so we didn't have anyone contact us. When we got to the hospital, we went to the room. My dad was waiting for us. We knew it was bad news as my mom wasn't in bed. He was crying. His words, "She's home." A few years back, I lived with my mother and German Shepherd in a 2-bedroom rented town home. I got home from work one day and went about my daily routine. When it came time to eat dinner, I knocked on my mom's door to come and eat. I smelled cigarette smoke and heard her grunt a response, so I went back down and ate alone. I figured I would just put a plate away for her. Fast forward to about 2 a.m., I'm awoken by someone holding my hand and gently shaking it. I immediately shoot straight up and look around. My dog, who is overly protective and sleeps with me every single night, isn't in bed. She isn't even in the room. She most definitely was on my bed when I went to sleep. I sleep with the bedroom door shut and locked. She is scratching at my closed and locked bedroom door from the hallway. I bolt for the door, let her in, and she is searching the whole room. I'm now yelling for my mother, but there was no answer. I force my dog to walk down the hallway with me, which, by the way, is still filled with cigarette smell. I bang on my mom's door, but it was quiet, so I just open it. She isn't even home. The bed is made and her TV is off. My dog and I search the whole entire house. Nothing is out of place. All the doors and windows are still locked. I was freaked out, to say the least. The next day, I called my mum, and she told me she left early the day before to go visit my sick grandfather. My mum died when I was a pretty young adult. I couldn't get her to answer her phone, so I went to her house to check on her and found her body. My mum's sister and I have always been very close. When she came in town for the funeral, we decided to spend the night at my mother's for a few nights to feel closer to her and be amongst her things. We were sitting in the living room with her cat. When I found her, her cat was curled around her head. She loved that cat. We were talking about her life, and it got a little bit deep. We were both crying and hoping she was at peace. Suddenly, the cat who was sitting between us jumped up and started hissing at the fireplace. Then, the flue to the fireplace slammed shut really loud and scared the hell out of us. We then heard footsteps above us in her bedroom where she died. It was scary and not comforting for us or the cat. My mum committed suicide and had been really despondent after my dad died. She was also the kind of person who never wanted anyone to feel sorry for her. I think we got too personal about her life and pissed her off. I had several other uncomfortable moments in her house while cleaning it out. My then 8-year-old son and I were packing boxes and her bedroom door slammed shut. It was a nice day, no windows or doors open. My son looked at me and asked, "Why is Granny so sad?" From the time I was about 12 to 17 years old, I lived in what I believe was a haunted house. I've never had experiences like I had in that house since moving out. A few specific memories come to mind. Once, I was hanging up laundry in my closet. I heard someone whisper my name in my ear, clear as day. I'd never sprinted out of a room so fast. Another time, my sister and I had friends over, and we decided to use a tape recorder to ask questions to the ghosts like they do on those paranormal shows. We played the tape, not expecting to hear anything, and could hear a very soft voice say, "I'm in the closet." We were sitting near a small closet in the basement. My parents eventually decided to sell the house. We moved into a new place before selling it. My sister stopped by the old house after there had been a couple of showings to turn out the light. She went to turn off the lights in the basement, which had multiple switches. One was at the far end of the basement away from the stairs. She turned off the light and swears she heard heavy footfalls of someone running towards her. She ran out of the house without turning out the rest of the lamps and quickly locked the door. That was the last time either of us went back until we were in the neighborhood and the new owners offered to show us the renovations they made. Nothing happened then, but they did ask us if we wanted to babysit their kids. We politely declined.